I used to like hiking. I say used to because if I ever get out of here, I'm never doing it again. I live in West Virginia, and just about the only good things about it really are the nature and the folklore, so I've always spent as much time as I could outside. I've encountered some relatively weird stuff up until this point, so when I saw the staircase leading down into the ground in the middle of the woods on the side of a mountain, it barely fazed me. In fact, it really intrigued me. You hear a lot of stories about feral people in the hills out here and all that, and they're the first thing I thought of. But I told myself that was stupid. None of that's real, and worrying about it shouldn't stop me from checking out something cool that I've never seen before. So I, like the idiot I am, knelt down by the mysterious stairs in the woods. I used my phone flashlight to illuminate them and saw an earthen tunnel that led down to a dead end, with little bits of rock and roots sticking out. There was absolutely nothing else, but just seeing that wasn't enough for me. I figured there had to be more to it, had to be some reason the stairs were there. But it occurred to me that it might be some kind of trap, that as soon as I stepped down into it, someone might block the entrance. Even if feral people aren't really out here, I figured it couldn't hurt to be at least kind of careful. So, I stood back up and shouted for my friend Greg, who had left behind a little way down the trail because he had to take a piss. He shouted back that he was on his way and rushed up to me, and I showed him the stairs and asked him to keep a lookout while I investigated. He agreed, saying that it was weird as hell and that I was crazy, but whatever, man. So I went down the stairs. There were about 15 of them. I poked around, searched the dirt walls for signs of secret entrances, messages, anything interesting. I found nothing, so I headed back up. About halfway up the stairs, I got hit by a really bad bout of dizziness, like vertigo, and I had to stop because I almost fell backwards, back down them. I kinda curled forward and closed my eyes for a second. When I opened them, the light above was much more dim, like the sky was clouded over. But there had been no clouds in the sky before. I climbed the rest of the stairs and found Greg there waiting for me, but he was different. I couldn't really place how. Part of it was the weird way he was staring at me, like blank and cold and shocked all at the same time. I was pretty sure he was wearing a different outfit than he'd been in before. But I was also pretty sure he hadn't brought a second one with him, and even if he had in case of emergency, the idea that he just randomly changed clothes while I was down the stairs seemed really stupid. I wanted to ask him about it, but I couldn't bring myself to. I told him there was nothing down in the tunnel, and he didn't say anything back, just kept staring. I asked him what was up, why he was being so quiet, whether something had freaked him out. He didn't say anything. At this point, I figured he was messing with me, and honestly, it annoyed me. I wasn't about to stand there begging him to talk to me, so I started down the trail again the way he'd been heading before. I had a really bad, weird feeling, obviously, and was just about done with everything. But we were far enough along the loop that it made more sense to keep going than to turn back. Greg walked behind me and didn't talk the whole way to the lot. We'd ridden here together in his car, but when we got to the parking lot, I didn't see anywhere. In fact, the lot which I was positive had been paved was now just packed down dirt. The cars were all kind of old-fashioned, and I didn't recognize the logos on any of them. The trail was a simple loop. There should have been no way for us to end up in any other parking lot. So I was finally like, Greg, what's going on? But he just looked at me and still wouldn't open his stupid mouth. Honestly, I had kind of a meltdown, freak out. No matter what I said, Greg wouldn't respond. I think once I wore myself out, shock set in. I followed Greg to some weird blue car that looked like it was made in the 50s, maybe. Got in. He pulled out onto a road I didn't recognize. We passed houses and other buildings I had never seen in my life. All of them looked old-fashioned, but not old. When we passed signs, I didn't recognize the writing on them. Not just the language, but the writing itself was totally unfamiliar. Kind of like Russian, but also totally different than that. I guess I can't really describe it. That's when I figured I must be dreaming and calmed down a bit. Even though everything was way more realistic than any dream I've ever had. I could smell gas and pine trees and dirt. I felt grit sliding under my shoe on the floor mat. I pinched the side of my leg, and it hurt. By the time we pulled up to the building, I wasn't so sure I was dreaming anymore. I didn't recognize it. It was 3 stories with some kind of butcher shop on the first floor and what looked like apartments above it. Then my mom stepped out the front door of the butcher shop wearing a white apron. I got out and half jogged over to her. The instant I did, I saw that she was looking at me the same way Greg did, all cold and weird with her mouth clamped shut. I knew that if I said anything to her, she wouldn't answer. And past her, through the window of the butcher shop, there was some smoked meat hanging up. I don't want to say what it looked like it was from. I know how this all sounds already, and I was in a clear state of shock and panic. Besides, I couldn't bring myself to focus on it for too long. I walked past my mum, where there was another door beside the butcher one, up those stairs and into the apartment, or I guess townhouse above it. It felt kind of like I was on autopilot, like my feet were taking me there on their own. I still don't recognize anything. I'm so terrified and exhausted that I almost feel high. I found a bedroom that obviously wasn't the master. That almost looks like it could maybe be mine, I guess. Got in and shut the door, locked it, and lay down on the bed. There are posters for movies in there that I've never heard of, with text I can't read. I pulled my phone out, and I still have service. I'm still connected to the internet. The normal internet that I can read. My mom and someone who sounds like my dad are standing outside the door, talking. They aren't speaking English or any language I've ever heard. To be honest, I'm not even sure I should be calling it talking or speaking. They're clearly saying things to each other and answering each other. Only it's like weird, short, glottal sounds and a bunch of hissing interspersed with a few syllables here and there. I checked the window, and there's no good way out or down. I'm on the 3rd floor, and there's a concrete sidewalk right now. Plus, there's a guy standing there, staring up through the window who looks exactly like me. I'm not sure when this numbness is going to fade, when I'll start freaking out again. I'm using the time I have while still being calm to try and to find information on what could possibly be going on, and if there's a way for me to get back home without leaving this room. I don't think I can leave this room. My phone is low on battery though, and I don't know if I'll be able to charge it with anything here. If you ever heard of anything like this, please help me. I'll take any information I can get. Google's turning up nothing but stuff about stairs in the wood that lead upward. Nothing like this exactly. Pretty sure I can feel the panic coming back. The doorknob's jiggling now. They're trying to get in.